In the sunny, cheerful town of Bloomville, where every house had a garden more colorful than a painter's palette, lived a young girl named Elara. Her hair was the color of chestnuts, and her eyes sparkled like dew on morning grass. She lived in the little blue house at the end of Cherry Blossom Lane, a home that seemed to hum with happiness. But the source of the hum wasn't just Elara, it was her magnificent, magical garden. Elara didn't just grow flowers, she grew joy. Her sunflowers stood so tall and bright they seemed to be tiny suns themselves. Her roses bloomed in colors that didn't have names, and their scent was so sweet it could make a grumpy badger smile. In the very center of the garden was her pride and joy, a small, silver-leaf tree that bore glowing, golden berries known as moonberries. Once a month, under the full moon, the berries would shimmer with a soft, magical light, and their sweet juice could heal small scratches and mend sad hearts. Next door, in a tall, gray house with a garden of prickly thistles and dry, yellow grass, lived Mr. Grumble. His real name was Algernon, but no one had used it in years. He was a thin man with a permanent frown, dressed in a drab, gray dressing gown, and his spectacles were always perched on the very end of his long, pinched nose. Mr. Grumble spent his days peering over the fence that separated his property from Elara's, his expression growing sourer with every laugh that floated from her garden. He wasn't just envious of the flowers, he was jealous of the life that surrounded Elara. Bumblebees buzzed cheerful tunes, butterflies danced in the air, and children from all over town would visit, their faces lighting up with wonder. Mr. Grumble's garden, by contrast, was silent and still, a place even the shadows seemed to avoid. When the world was at its quietest and the moon was high, Mr. Grumble crept into his own garden. He found a loose plank in the fence, pushed it aside, and slithered into Elara's paradise like a shadow. The air was still sweet with the scent of sleeping flowers. His heart hammered against his ribs as he scuttled to the center of the garden. With frantic, clumsy hands, he dug around the base of the precious moonberry tree. The earth, which had always been soft and welcoming for Elara, was hard and resistant for him. But his jealousy made him strong, and soon, he had wrestled the small tree from the ground, its roots caked in dark soil. He shoved it into the burlap sack, the glowing berries blinking in protest, and scurried back to his own garden, replanting it right in the middle of his thistle patch. He stood back, panting, a triumphant smirk on his face. "Now," he whispered, "the magic is mine." Meanwhile, in Mr. Grumble's garden, the moonberry tree did not thrive. Its silver leaves began to curl at the edges, turning a dull, leaden gray. The golden berries lost their glow, becoming hard and brown, like little stones. No matter how much water he gave it, or how he shouted at it to grow, "You foolish plant," the tree only grew sicker. And a strange thing began to happen to Mr. Grumble's house. The gray paint seemed to grow even darker. The air inside felt heavier and colder. The few pictures on his walls tilted sideways for no reason. A deep, unsettling chill settled in his bones. A terrible storm rolled into Bloomville that night. It wasn't an ordinary storm, it was a storm of concentrated gloom, centered directly over Mr. Grumble's house. Thunder grumbled directly overhead, and rain lashed at his windows. Sitting in his cold, dark, shaking house, with the ghost of the tree he had stolen dying outside, Mr. Grumble finally understood. The magic wasn't in the tree itself. It was in the love and kindness with which it was cared for. He had stolen the plant, but he could never steal the magic. His jealousy hadn't won him anything, it had only brought a storm upon himself. For the first time in many years, a single, hot tear of regret rolled down his cheek. The next morning, the storm was gone, leaving a clean, washed world behind. Mr. Grumble, looking older and very tired, did something he hadn't done in a decade. He walked out his front door, down the path, and around to Elara's blue house. Elara was sitting on her doorstep, sadly weaving a daisy chain from the few flowers that had survived the gloom. She looked up as his shadow fell over her. "Mr. Grumble," she said, her voice soft. The man shuffled his feet, unable to meet her eyes. "Elara," he began, his voice raspy. I have done a terrible thing. The storm, it was my fault. I was jealous of your happiness. I took your tree." He finally looked at her, his eyes filled with genuine sorrow. "I am so very sorry." Elara looked at him for a long moment. She saw the lonely man, the empty house, the dying tree in his garden. She didn't see a monster, she saw a sad, lost person. She stood up and offered him a small, gentle smile. "The tree wasn't what made me happy, Mr. Grumble," she said. "Taking care of it did. Sharing its gifts did." His shoulders slumped. "I've killed it," he whispered. Maybe, said Elara, but maybe not all the way. She walked over to the empty hole in her garden and sifted through the soil with her fingers. She found what she was looking for, a single, small, glowing seed that had fallen from the tree before it was stolen. It pulsed with a faint, golden light. And so, a new routine began in Bloomville. Every day, Mr. Grumble, Algernon, would come to Elara's garden. At first, he was clumsy, overwatering and pulling up flowers he mistook for weeds. But Elara was a patient teacher. She showed him how to talk to the plants, how to feel the soil, and how to listen to the bees. As they cared for the new little sapling together, something magical happened. Not just to the plant, which grew stronger and brighter each day, but to Algernon. His frown began to soften. He started wearing a blue shirt instead of his gray robe. One day, he even laughed at a ladybug crawling on his sleeve, a sound so surprising it made the sunflowers turn their heads. The magic of the garden, he learned, wasn't something you could own. It was something you shared. And in sharing it, his own heart, which had been as small and hard as a thistle seed, finally began to grow. His own garden didn't suddenly become a paradise, but a few brave daisies began to push through the dry soil, and the shadows didn't seem quite so deep anymore. He was no longer the jealous neighbor, he was simply Algernon, the gardener, and that was a much, much happier thing to be. And that's the story of the jealous neighbor. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an adventure. Give the video a thumbs up if you learned something about kindness today. Now, I have a question for you. If you had a magical tree, what kind of magic would it do? Let me know down in the comments below.